It was a spring night in Manchester, England, as the amazing Ariana Grande took to the stage to perform live as part of a Dangerous Woman tour. But for those in the attendance, they had no idea just how dangerous things were about to get, because in the blink of an eye, screams of joy turned into screams of horror when a boy became a bomber. For so many, their lives would be turned upside down as their greatest nightmare became a reality when Salman Abedi turned to terrorism. Only 22 years old at the time, Salman detonated a homemade device in the arena foyer towards the end of Ariana Grande's concert in 2017, killing himself and 22 more, with many left severely injured and scarred for life, both physically and mentally. With all the recent assassinations on Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, and mass shootings, the media shot into a frenzy, diving deeper into the life of the killer and whether or not he was operating on his own. Did he have a mentor? Was he part of the bigger crime group? But my question is, what could possibly drive someone so far that they are willing to blow themselves up and take others with them? Was it a simple moment of madness, or is there far more at play when we pull back the curtain on becoming a bomber? Religion, radical extreme ideologies, cultural dynamics, and so much more. Join us as we unpack it all. We'll even be taking a deeper dive into the actual Al-Qaeda training manual and how more and more teenagers are radicalized in order to become a living weapons of destruction. So let me tell you a story about how to become a bomber. Out of the ashes of the Cold War emerged a new threat, perhaps one even greater than the big bad bear of the USSR. During the Cold War and building up to the Gulf Wars, extreme jihadist groups began to grow in size and strength within the Middle East. But it wouldn't be long before the fight against the enemies of jihadism would spread across the world. For many across the globe, the recognizable event of 9/11 is the most notable terror attack in the history. A dark day for the citizens of America, as planes were flown into the Twin Towers, leading to the death of 3,000 innocent people, planes flown by bombers. This set in motion countless wars between the West and the Middle East, and sparked a newfound fear for terrorist bombers. The media jumped to sensationalize public enemy number one, Osama bin Laden, and his terrorist group, Al-Qaeda. The rest, as they say, is history. But since the rise of Al-Qaeda, the world has been plunged by many more terrorist groups, such as ISIS and Hamas, all with an inclination for bombing. Their radical views have permeated through society, and thanks to social media, found its ways to the ears of many impressionable young listeners. If you don't believe me, take a listen to some of these statistics provided by EPP Group. From 2013 to the present day, we have seen an increase of 80% in jihadist terrorist attacks, leading to the combined total of more than 36,000 attacks, causing over 200,000 deaths. This is a dramatic increase from the numbers recorded in the periods of 1979 to 2000, and from 2001 to 2012. A major cause of this can be linked to the rise of social media, the acceptance by young people of extreme ideologies, and growing inclination towards violence. Social media has allowed these groups to recruit new members at faster rates than ever before, and to influence them into committing extreme acts of violence. Was Salman Abedi at Ariana Grande's concert an isolated incident, or is he simply another indoctrinated young man in a long line of young people to have lost their ways to radicalism? Now, we know that bombers aren't limited to one type of extreme ideology, but the statistics are hard to ignore, and the rising number of terror attacks among jihadists really does speak for itself. And the concerning trend of young people perpetrating these crimes has continued as well. Between October 2023 and June 2024, Europe recorded that 66% of arrests made in relation to terror attacks were teenagers. The terror attacks has also been occurring in places involving innocent civilians who are easy targets for those bombers. Places such as churches and venues hosting concerts continue to be at risk. According to the Southern Center, groups such as ISIS and ISK have made the most out of social media and modern technology to further their intentions, as evil as they may be. Believe it or not, but ISIS make use of AI application to generate content. and lay claims to the attacks when they are made. And the followers even began to use AI platforms, news harvests to create propaganda videos for those terrorist organizations. What a strange time we live in, indeed. At least Elon Musk's X is tightening the belt around ISIS-related content. So I guess there is still some common sense left around the world. So where does this leave us? Well, now we know that there is some history behind Islamic radicalism, and we see that becoming a bomber doesn't happen on its own. In many cases, those bombers are recruited by these jihadist groups by way of social media. But I think that's not the only factor behind people turning to the life of a terrorism and deciding that blowing themselves up is the only way to leave this planet. As mass immigration becomes a bigger and bigger issue across Europe today, with marches being held in places such as Ireland and Germany, an increasing divide of us and them has become apparent. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, you see, Europe has seen a massive influx of Muslims in the country over the past generation. Now, while that in and of itself is not a bad thing, it does lead to some interesting talking points on the cultural differences between immigrants and native citizens. Immigrants bring with them the culture from their home countries, and for the most part remain unquestionably loyal to the countries of their origin, as opposed to the country that they are living in. It is clear that their alliances do not lie with European country that they now call home. When those who have immigrated raise their children, born within the European nation, the children grow up with a mix of influences from Western and Middle Eastern culture. However, for the most part, their alliances lie with the Middle Eastern as well. Young Muslims who now find themselves being citizens of the European nation feel as though they are foreigners within the country they call home, but foreigners in their ancestral home too. This leads to a feeling of disconnection from the European community as well as to the Middle Eastern community, the families once called home. Lost and looking for a purpose and their place in the world, young Muslim men become a prime target for jihadist groups as they look to exploit their want for community. Before you know it, a young man can find himself in the clutches of extreme terrorist groups such as Al-Qaeda, and trust me when I say it, these guys aren't a bunch of petty criminals. I mean, they are organized and professionals. They even have a training manual that we can have a look. The manual was actually found in the year 2000 by British investigators while searching through the Anas al-Libi's apartment. It was suspected that Anas was a member of infamous Al-Qaeda, but actually what they found was truly shocking. The training manual is no less than 200 pages long and goes in depth on a number of different topics which would be very useful to any impressionable young boy looking to become a bomber. It has detailed section on apartments and hiding places, weapons, espionage information, secret codes, kidnapping, and assassination using rifles and pistols, assassinations using explosives, and even interrogation. That's just crazy. The training manual has been decoded and translated and is available to the public on the internet. And believe me, it has some very interesting parts. One of the opening remarks is a fascinating look into the mindset of the jihadists and their ideologies. It reads that Islamic governments have never and will never be established through peaceful solutions and cooperative councils. They are established as they always have been, by pen and gun, by word and bullet, by tongue and teeth. Well, that's just really intense. The writer of the manual stated in it that he presents this to a young Muslim men who are pure, believing and fighting for the cause of Allah. I'm not really sure what espionage and interrogation has to do with it, but I digress. The manual is actually extremely militant and calls for a number of violent acts. Under its code for military organization, the manual calls for the removal of those that block the cause path and the establishment of Islamic State. It also calls the members to sacrifice, stating that they must be willing to do the work and undergo the martyrdom for the purpose of achieving the goal and establishing the religion of Allah on earth. This promotes ideology which encourages achieving its goal, as Malcolm X would say it, by any means necessary. The means just happens to be becoming a bomber. To those influenced by jihadist mindset, it is somewhat honorable to sacrifice themselves in pursuit of achieving the goal that was set before them. The manual draws from the real-life examples of German soldiers and even Mossad, taking examples from experts in the field. The manual provides very clear guidance for basically any young man, which would push him to the life of extreme criminality. To get anyone in the modern day to read like 200-page manual and really digest the information is going to be a challenge. But that's why modern terrorism has taken a new approach. Instead of dumping all that information on a young, impressionable mind in one go, they are making use of TikTok and slowly push bite-sized bits of information on those interested in becoming a bomber. All you've got to do now is to be indoctrinated by extreme ideologies. Make sure you've got social media with algorithm feeding you radical jihadism. Be unsure of where you fit in the world. And last but certainly not at least, have a read through the not so peaceful Al-Qaeda training manual, and you are well on your way to becoming a bomber. But for those who maybe don't want to use dynamite to end their lives, just be careful out there. You might be opening TikTok to see some funny videos, but maybe, just maybe, ISIS propaganda might be coming your way. And my last question would be how all this impacts the world as we know it today. Well, currently the world seems divided over the ongoing issues between Israel and Palestine. And because of the social media's influence, it has become politicized by the masses in a way never seen before. It has led to many more young mindsets being thrust into the belief that radical jihadism is necessary in the pursuit of perceived freedom. With the growing notion of us versus them, many even attempt to justify the horror of the October 7 attacks. It's definitely a crazy world we live in, and with the rise of technology during the digital age, we have the world's news at our fingertips in the blink of an eye. Terror attacks, which once felt a world away and that only made its way to your country the following week, is now in your face 24/7. In the midst of all the madness, with terrorist groups having greater access than ever before to young minds, let's just hope that no one else wants to become a bomber. If you enjoyed our take on becoming a bomber, then be sure to check out how Donald Trump monetized his presidency, or how an American citizen was tortured over the stolen poster in North Korea.